Hello StarCraft fans, this is Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another daily Legacy of the Void upload. This is a game between State and StriKE on Dusk Towers. This is a GM level ladder match that was played by State on New Year's Eve, and I figured I would cast it because it's a pretty good game. In the bottom of Dusk Towers, we have the red Protoss player, it is State. And at the top side of Dusk Towers, we have the blue Terran player representing Myth. It is StriKE. Pretty fancy spinning logo there, MITH, with like an arrow coming off it, I guess. Looks more like a backwards Y in that way, but sometimes design is that way. So PvT here on Dusk Towers. We have seen this matchup before on this map before. Always good. This map is really good for good games, it feels like. There's a long rush distance. It kind of lends itself to more macro style games because of the expansions you can take that are so safe back here. Third base is also very close, and the fourth base. It allows people to get up those bases, get up huge armies a lot quicker than they would be able to on some other maps, like Central Protocol. I'm looking at you. Anyway, both players are getting their gas assimilator and refinery going, barracks and gateway on the way, and two workers. Identical builds at this point. Putting his workers on gas immediately is State, at least one, and not going for anything more than that. So we'll see what he decides to do with that one there. He's going to go for a gateway expand. Gateway is not quite finished yet, but he's going to have enough minerals for that Nexus, and bam, there it is. Nexus on the way. Before the gateway even finishes, barracks will finish, and the question is if StriKE's going to go for that command center or if he has a one base play in mind, which can be very, very powerful indeed. And instead, it looks like he's sending the SCV on out to throw down that command center. So a one racks expand compared to a one gate expand. Both these players doing essentially identical builds. Cybernetics core on the way. StriKE is not getting a factory quite yet. He is instead getting a Reaper to go out and try to harass the Protoss player. And the question is, will he be able to have a Stalker out in time to deal with this? Or not? I mean, the Reapers basically come out to try to get some scouting information out, go ahead and try to kill some probes as well. But if there's an Adept out, or more likely a Stalker, Stalkers do a better job at dealing with those Reapers. We will have to wait and see. Pro comes up, sees the timing on the Reaper, is going to lose its life for the process, trying to delay that Reaper as much as possible. The SCV comes back home to safety, and there's actually an Adept coming up. So he's actually going to choose to use an Adept. State does not want to use a Stalker to try to deal with this Reaper. Warp Gate Research on the way as well, not even quarter boosting out that Adept. Mothership Core should also be very useful in dealing with this guy, Reaper Bob, who's heading on out, wiggling his little legs back and forth there. Jetpacks shooting on out. Robotics Facility coming up for State as well. And a Photon Overcharge being used to actually kill the Reaper. Hey, that works, I guess. The Reaper had to hop up somewhere along this area. Good positioning by the pylon meant that there were very limited areas the Reaper could do this. Could have hopped up over here, I suppose, would have been safe from that pylon, but I don't know. Hindsight is 20/20, so nicely done by State, dealing with that Reaper very, very efficiently, and now sending out his Adept to try to do some harassment of his own. He's not going to be able to Psionic Transfer up this, because Psionic Transfer cannot go through buildings, as we'll see here. Boop! Nope, can't go through that building. Can get a scout off, though. Does see the reactor barracks. I think he caught a swift, faint sight of that factory as well, and the fact there's a tech lab coming up on it. Going to come up here again, just make sure what that attachment is. It is a tech lab, so it tells him more of a marine tank type play on the way from StriKE. Warp Prism being warped in. Warp Gate Research still on the way. That is such a long upgrade. Holy shamoly. Engineering Bay for StriKE, and he's also creating another command center. Where is it? Kind of hiding it up here. I think he's going to land it down here, or possibly take this gold. That is something I've seen from Terran players that works out pretty well for them. Researching Blink here at the Twilight Council. State is also getting two more gateways and throwing down a pylon in preparation to take his third base. Ready, good, set, third base, go! And there it is. There's that third base. Command center is finished. It is upgrading to an orbital command. We'll see if StriKE decides to land it down here or possibly take this gold. Barracks, factory. Any tanks out yet? A Cyclone. So single Cyclone is on the way. Or out on the field already. Where is that thing? Warping in some of the depths. Very, very sneaky Warp Prism. Going to pick those up and go harass at this area. Is there anything to defend against this? Yes, there is a Cyclone in preparation to meet this Warp Prism. Using the lock-on ability on a Warp Prism that's flying in is surprisingly effective. You'll see this here. It does 400 damage over 14 seconds. And a Warp Prism only has 200 hit points total. So here we come. Lock-on ability. Go. There it is. And immediately good reaction time from State. Getting out of there. Almost lost all of its shields anyway. Even with quick reaction time, that shows how good Cyclones are on denying drops. So Terran players, if you're worried about drops happening, go ahead and do this. Throw a Cyclone out at a place where you think you'll be dropped most likely, and you should be able to handle it. Warp Prism does not give up though. State sending on in, going to try to drop his Adepts in elsewhere, and here it is, going to drop him right here in between the first and the second bases. The Adepts roll on in. Lock-on being used on these Adepts as well. Going to try to kill one of them, and indeed does. The Adepts just going after SCVs. They don't care if they're going to die. No, they get picked up, and no, Psionic transferred their way over here. Lock-on used once again, killing one of the Adepts. Marines taking down the other one. A Marauder getting in on the fun as well, and all the Adepts get completely cleaned up. So what was that loss there? 4 Adepts for about 6 workers. So it's 55 to 40 total workers right now. State is ahead. I feel like that Adept drop was fairly effective for him. He is getting Resonating Glaives as well. And is that Blink still being researched? No, Resonating Glaives. Okay, I already said that. State is getting 2 Forges, and probably for those upgrades that are so very, very useful in this game. Medevacs being pushed out of the starports. Combat Shield and Stim coming up for StriKE as well. Hasn't chosen exactly where to put this Orbital Command quite yet. He's using it for additional SCVs, which is nice, and additional Mules, helping his income immensely. He is down 62 to 44 workers. 8, but again, the income for the minerals is about even for both these guys because of the Mules. The Mules at this point are really very fantastic. Oh, the Cyclone ends up getting killed by those Stalkers. Unfortunately, dear Cyclones, sleep well, sweet prince. Coming up again, another Adept drop with these Warp Prisms. State says if at first you don't succeed, try again. Losing that Cyclone, and there's not one here to defend anymore. There is a Missile Turret and another Missile Turret, which is going to be very tricky to maneuver around for the Warp Prism, but for the main point, maybe not as difficult. Indeed. There we go. Templar Archives coming up for State. Likely going to be for Archons. Archons are good against a bio playing Terran, just because, again, Archons do extra damage versus biological units, which is what Marines and Marauders are. Boosting out, doing some dropping of his own here, and catches sight. Might have caught sight of that Warp Prism. I'm not sure. The Adepts got out of the way, though. Going to head on down. Meanwhile, the Adepts get on up here while the army is away. Does a quick scan to see what's going on. Going to Psionic transfer in and kill an SCV. Going to kill one more SCV, and I think that might be it for this guy. Going to try to kill some Marines in the process. Going after the Adept, not the best target. Dropping on in here. Losing the Warp Prism, though. Oh, no. State loses the Warp Prism with the trio of missile turrets. Going to try to kill stuff like a missile turret. Are these Adepts? Unfortunately, they get completely cleaned up by these Marines and Marauders with no attack upgrades at all on them yet. Getting +1 attack and Storm is State. State might actually be going for Templar here. Surprisingly, StriKE moving in to where he thinks there's a base, and there's not. So he goes and takes an abrupt left turn, goes into the main base, landing a lot of his Marines and Marauders. The Stalkers are ready for it, though. They're taking in the Medevacs first. They get rid of one. That's exactly what you want to do. Stalker count not very high here. Mothership Core comes in. First on Photon Overcharge ability. Double Photon Overcharge. Taking out a couple Marines before they get out of the range of that ability there. The Stalkers really need to kill that Medevac. If they're trying to focus it down, they're not. And there we go. Blinking forward to get rid of the Medevac. And there, the entire drop gets cleaned up for StriKE. So State holding on pretty well there. Did lose some stuff. Has lost about 4 Stalkers. Again, that Warp Prism and all those Adepts. Most of that was on offensive capability. On defense, he hasn't lost a whole lot, to be entirely honest. 64 to 45 Harvesters. Again, State is continuing to be in the lead. Has this 4th base up and running now. Here at the 8-minute mark, that feels like an early 4th indeed, but StriKE coming for the more conventional attack. Widowmines, Marines, Marauders. +1 attack has been completed on the Marines and the Marauders. A Liberator in production as well as an Armory, which will likely just be used for the +3 attack on those Marines and the Marauders when the time comes. Burrowing Widowmines in strategic positions. Here is StriKE. Guardian Shield coming up on the army. And actually taking out one of the, I don't know, force fielding in there, catching a lot of Marines that are trying to die. Blink forward, a feedback on top of one of the Medevacs. And State feeling really strong here. Getting rid of Widowmines thanks to the help of the observers overhead. And warping in more reinforcements as well. So StriKE heading back home. Not feeling like that engagement went very well for him. Zealot leg, Zealot charge on the way for State. StriKE also continuing to make Liberators, getting +1 ship weapons for his Liberators and +1 armor and +2 Terran infantry weapons. Marines and Marauders getting healed up by medevacs over here, but the army for State is ready for that, man. The Observer sees them, sees all. It's forced to stim and go on home. The Adepts are going to try to trap him, though. The Adept's going to try to catch up and keep them from running. Does trap a few Marauders, forcing the other ones to stop and come back as well to try to save their friends. A futile effort, and they retreat all the way back home. 172 to 114 total supply. State looking strong, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Widowmine shot on top of that Warp Prism, almost killing it, taking down to 40 hit points. Observer moving on down, saying, where the heck is that annoying Widowmine? And here it is. Hey friends, there's a Widowmine here, come get it. But no, not interested in doing that at all. Liberator trying to find an area in which to attack, but I think the Stalkers pushed him back. He did get a couple kills, but maybe not as effective as he was hoping for. +2 shields, +2 attack for State. StriKE is continuing to make Marines, Marauders, Liberators, and that +1 ship weapons, as well as +2 on the attack for the infantry. StriKE sending a Liberator down, going to try to lock down this space, but again, Stalkers are ready for it. State doing a good job sending little groups of Stalkers in places where he's worried about getting hit by Liberators. Is the Liberator going to come here? No, he's not. There are Stalkers ready, going to come down here. I don't know. This base looks entirely undefended. If the Liberator decides to come in, it might be a problem. Meanwhile, StriKE is getting a Fusion Core, probably to extend the range on those Liberator Defender Mode abilities, as well as getting a Ghost Academy. Was that a Ghost Academy? It was a Ghost Academy. I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. Ghost Academy, where are you? I don't know where it is. Anyway, State moving on up. He has a bunch of Templar with a lot of Storm available, almost maxed out. The Liberator trying to throw up Defender Mode once again. Going to go ahead and die to these Stalkers with the +2 attack. Liberator got a couple kills, but again, not super effective. StriKE sending yet another Liberator in, for some reason, right across the middle of the map here. Going to walk right past these Stalkers, and no! Adjust the angle just in time. Stargate and a Fleet Beacon on the way for State. StriKE is getting that advanced ballistics upgrade for his Liberators, increasing the range of that Defender Mode circle. But heading back home is State. He was trying to pressure things out, but StriKE does not even have a 4th base yet. He does have, again, 3 bases up and running, but no 4th at this point, and State is on 5. State looking really good right here. Stalkers do take down yet another Liberator, exchanging its life for a couple workers. StriKE finally taking that 4th. That is needed for quite some time here. The Observer checks out the timing on that. Immediately, a flying tank comes rolling in as well, just to see what's going on. Stalkers, Immortals, more Stalkers, Tempests, Templar coming in. Here come the Adepts rolling in first. Going to try to tank a lot of damage. See what we're dealing with. A lot of Defender Mode circles here, though. State is going for it. Here come the Templar. They're going to try to throw some Storms down, and yes, there's the Storm. 2 Storms. They're catching a few Marauders. Splitting his units fairly well, though. Here is StriKE. More Storms on top of all of these bio units. Excellent, excellent blanketing. The Marauders are very low on health, but Defender Mode circle is very strong as well. He needs to bring in something to deal with these. The answer is going to be Tempest. He has 3 Tempest on the way. They're not quite here yet, though. He's going to try to do what damage he can. Maybe try to burn down this planetary fortress, and he does take down the planetary. A few Storms again, greatly weakening these units. SCVs forced to pull off the line as well to try to defend here, losing their lives in the process. Another Storm walking right through it is StriKE. Few units go the wrong way around this little doodad and get absolutely killed for the process for it. No Adept survives with 3 hit points. No, ends up getting killed instead. Are the Tempest ready to go? They're not being chrono boosted, but they should join this army shortly. Tempest to take out the Liberators basically means that State would be able to win that ground battle fairly handily. A lot of Zealots in here, actually. They do have charge, and +3/+3 just about to come up for State here, and there it is. +3/+3 on his ground units. A lot of Archons morphing in from those Templars, boosting on over. StriKE says, I cannot be pinned inside my base. I must be ready to go here. Another attack. Gets forced back once again by StriKE. State, again, trying to sneak on in here, catching a residual fire, though, by tanks and by Liberators. Not exactly what he wanted to do. Coming in with a big drop, trying to feed back on those medevacs. It was not quite enough, and the Nexus does fall. The Marines, the Marauders get what they need. Pick up a boost on out of there. and run for home. Exactly what StriKE needed to do. Kill a base. Try to make State be back on his back 2 feet there. The Tempest rolling in, though, taking out one Liberator. Another Storm on those bio units. The Tempest are essentially unaffected here. Their range is so far. Taking out yet another Liberator. A couple more shots. It ends up falling. Everything on the ground dying as well here for StriKE. Liberator's trying to roll in, but it's not a good place, and StriKE calls the GG. State is victorious, and StriKE has left the game. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A pretty darn good back and forth. A lot of drops there from these players. State was able to get adept drops in here, kill a ton of SCVs, ended up killing 42 overall. StriKE's drops not as effective, but he did kill this base. Liberator's taking out individual probes here at this base and this base, but not really doing too much by the way of economic damage. Only 18 probes dying here in this 15-minute game. So yeah, in the end, I just feel like it was State's ability to get up more bases more quickly than StriKE that got him into this position. Also, incredible decision-making. A lot of storms for all those bio units. Archons as well, crushing through. Finally getting Tempest when he recognized the Liberator count was getting high enough. And he won it. So Protoss players who are struggling with Terran right now, this is a good blueprint for you to see exactly how to handle those Liberators. Tempest seemed to be the way to go. So that's it from me. This has been Falcon Paladin with yet another daily Legacy of the Void upload. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitter and Facebook, both at /FalconPaladin. And until next time, as always, thanks for watching, and you take care of yourself.